Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and once again we are going to be talking about this ongoing situation with the 8 passengers kids and Ruby Frankie, Jodie Hildebrandt, and the estranged husband of Ruby, which is Kevin, and he has some things to say which might just surprise you. So now, as we know, out of the recent Jodie's Tracy Island-esque compound, bad things happened, and we're going to find out more about these bad things right now. So this article appeared in the Daily Mail, and it centers around the neighbours, specifically talking to them. So it says, neighbours told the dailymail.com they had been concerned about the children's well-being and once saw the kids outside pulling weeds for hours during triple-digit temperatures, which is pretty hot, I've got to say. DailyMail.com spoke to one of Hildebrandt's neighbours, whose home is also in the Kayenta community located at the base of Red Mountains in Ivins, Utah. They recalled seeing Frankie's 8 passengers van regularly parked in front of the home at the time. One thing we noticed, and we told the police the same thing 6 to 8 weeks ago when it was really hot. I was outside in the late morning, afternoon, pulling weeds, and over at Jodie's home several kids were also outside her home pulling weeds. Over the course of the day, the temperature was over 100 degrees, and I gave up after a while because it was so hot, but I noticed that the kids stayed out there, the neighbour explained. So they had kids outside doing chores and pulling weeds in huge temperatures. There's a reason why people don't do work in those temperatures. It's because it's not safe, generally, and it's even less safe for kids to do it. And yeah, the resident also noted how they never heard any sounds coming from the home, such as those of children playing outside, which they thought was unusual, which, yeah, I guess that would... I mean, most homes with kids are annoyingly loud with playing kids, but not in the Hildebrandt/Frankie household. On one day, a child is thought to have escaped through the window of a home before running to a neighbour, who then called the police. The neighbour said they believed the child picked that particular home after they had been given cookies by them at Christmas and knew them to be friendly and safe enough to go to them for help. And that is a nice thought. But it also begs the question, have these kids been staying all this time since Christmas time? We're like in August, September now, so it's like 8-9 months ago. They've just been at Jodie's house for like indefinitely. What exactly was actually going on in that family scenario? It's just, it begs so many questions, and I don't know if we'll, as the public, ever get the answers to these questions, but it feels really, it's really upsetting the way that things have transpired throughout this whole, whilst we've been watching Jodie and Ruby talk utter shit on a daily basis, spouting their parental crap to other brainwashed parents. I wonder how they feel now. And all this time they were doing this to their kids, alienating them, isolating them, and ultimately abusing them. Everyone is breathing a collective sigh of relief because we thought they were going to come out of that house with body bags, another neighbour said. I mean, that just kind of throws it all into perspective. That's how much people were worried about this situation, and this is stuff that was going on in the background that, we're watching the foreground, and people in their community, they're not publicizing it on the internet like they are, but they are really concerned about the well-being of these kids, and yet nothing appeared to be done. Neighbors said they had been in contact with the Utah Division of Child and Family Services in the past. I remember that she took away their Christmas one year, and she would say things like, "They're not repenting correctly," which is a Mormon term for their sinning, just complete insanity, a male neighbor explained. The local residents also told how Frankie would interfere in the lives of her neighbors. One recalled an incident where Frankie lectured a neighbor over what she deemed to be inappropriate posters of women posing in shorts that were on display in a garage. So I can totally imagine Ruby doing that, just going up to a random neighbor and saying, like, that's in distortion, that sort of thing. That doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Kevin Frankie is believed to have been kicked out of the family home last year. He said earlier this week that he is trying to keep his children together following the arrests. Kevin's attorney, Randy S. Kester, told Page 6 his client's urgent focus is simply to keep his children together under his fatherly care. Now, that's an interesting thing. Where was Kevin's fatherly care when all this was happening to his kids? I mean, what exactly was going on? That why wasn't he trying to get his kids back? I mean, people have said that, the sisters couldn't do anything, like they couldn't go into the house and just take the kids away with them, but the father has a lot more rights. Okay, if the father thinks or knows that the kids are being abused, then he can do something. He can move heaven and earth to get those kids out of that situation, because but he didn't do anything. And how far would it need to have gone before he actually sat up and took notice? Did those kids need to come out in the body bags? Because that's what might have happened in the end. And he just didn't seem to have any care or attention to his kids. 4 minor children were taken into the care of Child and Family Services following the police investigation. It is unconfirmed if the children were related to either Frankie or Hildebrandt, but we know that Hilda shitty crappiness. She didn't have any kids, I don't think, and Frankie had 4 underage children, so it kind of stands to reason that that's who they are. Once Kevin had departed the family home, one neighbor said it appeared the children stopped going to school, with one of the daughters knocking on the doors of the other homes in the neighborhood that had kids. So what it's saying here is, once Kevin had left, one of the kids stopped going to school altogether. So I'm guessing that Ruby wanted this all along, and once Kevin was out of the way, she was free to do whatever the hell she wanted. And when the kids were not at school, one of the daughters came knocking on the homes of the neighborhoods that had kids, the other kids' neighborhoods, looking for people to play with. She would just knock on your door and say, "Hi, can your kids play?" And we're like, "Well, they're at school. They won't be home for 3 or 4 hours." And she'd be like, "I'll wait then." She's like this little lost child, the neighbor recounted. And that's really sad. So where was Ruby or indeed Jodie at this point? Like that, their kids are not at school and they come and they're so out of it. They're so lost that they're going around other houses just waiting for children to come home from school so they have someone to play with. That is really, really sad. I'm really angry because I spoke up. Other people spoke up and nothing happened, another female neighbour explained. I want those kids to know that the community loves them and wants them to be safe, she said. If people knew the amount of tears and time spent talking with law enforcement and CPS over the last year, I want people to understand that, and I want those kids to know that because I think, and I want those kids to know that because I think they thought they were abandoned. And I think that's a very important thing to note, because I can imagine that the kids, being locked up in that home and being tied up, being bound and starved and everything, it's just, they would have felt alone. They would have felt lost, like nobody cared and nobody was on their side. When these neighbours are saying that they were on their side, they were fighting for them all this time, they were trying to help them, and I think that's very important going forward, or even now, just that the kids over time know that they were cared for, they were loved, and they were meant something to somebody, even if they didn't know who those people were. And I think that's important. So overall, what have we learned here? This is just getting horrendous. I know this is going on and on, but it's finding out more details, things that were not in the public domain before, like from neighbours and things like that, and how badly these kids were failed on every single level. It's really horrible. Why can't people take reports more seriously when that, because we've previously mentioned how the police used to come and knock on the door and do a welfare check, and they would say, oh well, nobody's home, so it must be okay. But maybe that's actually a sign that things are not okay if nobody's answering the door. So they have to look at these things, and there'll be another one of those cases. We get them a lot over here in this country, where they'll do a case review and they'll say, well, lessons will be learnt, and lessons are never learnt, and we always have to make the error before we learn these lessons. We should never have to fail kids like this in any way, shape or form, ever. And it's disgusting that we keep having to come back to this same thing. Why are kids always being failed? Why are they always being used as a case subject in learning for future kids? This should never be a thing. Anyway, please give this video a massive thumbs up if you've appreciated it. Comment all your thoughts down below about this, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Get me up to 1,000 subs, please. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourselves, and bye bye.